There is a feeling that haunts you, isn't there? It usually creeps in late at night when the house is finally quiet and the endless, relentless distractions of the day have faded away. You find yourself staring back in the mirror at 2 a.m., the silence ringing in your ears, and a heavy, sinking feeling settles deep in your chest. It is the brutal, terrifying realization that you are behind. You look at the curated, polite version of yourself that you present to your coworkers, the filtered mask you post on Instagram, and then you look at the real you, the one hiding behind the screen. You have to ask yourself, are you who you said you would be 5 years ago? Or are you just repeating the exact same year over and over again and calling it a life? You are exhausted, but here is the brutal truth that nobody wants to tell you. You are not tired because you have done too much, but because you have done too little of what actually matters. You are drained from maintaining an image of success while feeling completely hollow inside. We live in a culture of relentless noise, addicted to the applause before we have even done the work, wanting the victory lap before we have even run the race. You are hemorrhaging energy, bleeding out your focus drop by drop on things that do not matter and people who do not care. If you do not do something radical, something drastic, 6 months from now, you will be sitting in the exact same chair, looking at the exact same bank account, fighting the exact same demons, and making the exact same excuses. The harsh truth is that you cannot fix this while you are still inside the machine. You cannot rebuild a car while it is speeding down the highway at 100 miles an hour. Society tells you that to be successful, you must be visible, constantly networking, posting, and sharing. But society is lying to you. I am asking you to do the unthinkable. What if you just shut it all down? What if you unplugged from the matrix and ghosted everyone? I am not talking about running away to a tropical island to sip coconuts because honestly, that is a vacation, and you haven't earned a vacation yet. I am talking about entering ghost mode, a period of such intense focus and deep isolation that people actually start to wonder where you went. You step out of the blinding light of public approval and vanish into the shadows. Why 6 months? Because a year feels too long, like a massive mountain you cannot climb, and a month is too short, just a fad or a diet. 6 months, 180 days is the absolute sweet spot. It is long enough to completely rewire your biology, but short enough to keep the absolute urgency alive. In 6 months, you can break the chains of who you were and construct the concrete foundation of who you will become. Most people dramatically underestimate what they can do in 6 months of total focus, but to get there, to truly transform, you must be willing to let the old you die. The biggest mistake people make when trying to change their lives is attempting to build the new on top of the old. They try to paint over the cracks, adding good habits to a rotten personality, but you cannot build a skyscraper on a swamp. This is not a project of self-improvement. This is a project of self-destruction. You have to kill the person you are right now, because the version of you that currently exists, the one addicted to validation, the one who tolerates disrespect, the one who constantly procrastinates, is simply not capable of achieving your dreams. If he was capable, he would have done it by now, but he hasn't, and he has failed you. You have to hold a funeral for him. We cling to our limitations as if they were treasures, wrapping ourselves in comfortable narratives like, I'm not a morning person or I have anxiety, but these are not biological facts. They are just scripts written by your old self to justify his mediocrity. Entering this phase starts with a brutal audit of your existence, looking in the mirror and admitting that the operating system you have been running is obsolete, full of viruses, and corrupted. You cannot just patch it. You have to wipe the drive entirely. This means letting go of the desperate need to be liked. During these 6 months, people will think you are weird. They will think you are depressed. They will call you arrogant, and they will stop inviting you out. Good. Let them go. You are not losing friends. You are shedding dead weight and creating a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. Think of the caterpillar turning into a butterfly. It is a violent, destructive process. The caterpillar does not just sprout wings, it wraps itself in a cocoon, completely dissolves into a soup of cells, and dies to its old structure before it can ever be rebuilt. Ghost mode is your cocoon. You must be willing to sit alone in your room with nothing but your thoughts, facing the sheer emptiness of who you are without the anesthetics of Friday night drinks, video games, comfort food, and the endless scrolling that you use to numb the pain of your unfulfilled potential. When you take away that anesthesia, you will feel the pain, the boredom, and the anxiety, and you need to feel it. That pain is the signal that you are alive. It is the fuel that will drive you to work. Write a literal eulogy for your old self. Thank him for getting you this far, acknowledge his fears and failures, and then tell him goodbye, because where you are going, there is absolutely no room for hesitation, no room for excuses, and no room for the weak. You are burning the boats and stranding yourself on the island of your potential, where there is no retreat, only victory or death. Before you can build the unshakable fortress of your new life, you must understand the invisible chains that are currently binding you. You sit down to work, you have the grand plan, you have the coffee poured, but within 5 minutes you feel a physical itch, a tightness in your chest, a twitch in your hand. Before you even realize what you are doing, you have picked up your phone, you are scrolling, checking emails, looking for a snack, doing literally anything other than the deep hard work you promised yourself you would do. You tell yourself you are just lazy or easily distracted, but you are entirely wrong. You are a high-functioning addict, a slave to the dopamine casino in your pocket. Dopamine is not the molecule of having, it is the molecule of wanting, the biological chemical designed by evolution to compel you to move, to hunt, and to seek. In the ancient world, it was expensive, requiring days of tracking a gazelle just to get a hit. But today, you are bombarded with cheap nuclear-level hits from every red notification badge, every swipe on TikTok, and every bite of processed sugar. Your brain, desperately seeking homeostasis and balance, panics from this relentless overstimulation. It tries to turn down the volume so it burns off your dopamine receptors, a process called down-regulation. Think of your receptors like ears. If someone whispers, you can hear them. But if someone screams into your ear through a megaphone for 10 hours a day, you will eventually go completely deaf. Your brain has gone deaf to motivation, leaving you in a permanent state of anhedonia. Because your receptors are fried, normal, beautiful things like reading a book or building a business feel impossibly boring, and you are left shivering for your next digital hit. No different from a heroin addict in an alleyway. Smart, highly paid engineers in Silicon Valley have designed these algorithms to hijack your survival instincts, turning you into a lab rat in a Skinner box, pressing a lever over and over again, hoping for a tiny pellet of validation while your real life wastes away outside the cage. You cannot fix a fried circuit board while the electricity is still aggressively running through it. You have to pull the plug. For the next 6 months, you are going to perform a massive factory reset on your brain by completely cutting the supply and starving the parasite. You must commit digital suicide, killing the avatar version of yourself that lives inside the screen, the version that desperately likes posts, watches stories, and is terrified of missing out. You have the nuclear option of deleting everything, or you must delete the apps from your phone and turn your screen to grayscale. These apps use color psychology, the bright red and pink mimicking fruit, to trigger your primate brain. When you turn the screen black and white, the magic spell breaks, and the device tastes like ash. When you execute this, the silence will feel deafening, and the void will feel like it is crushing you. Your fingers will itch for a device that isn't there, and you will feel a phantom limb syndrome, a spike of sheer panic asking what everyone else is doing. This is exactly where most people break, running back to the noise because the silence forces them to finally look at their own reflection. But you are going to sit in that fire and let it burn away the dependency. You will embrace the boredom, because boredom is not the enemy. Boredom is the medicine. As you sit in the quiet, your dopamine receptors will begin to heal. They will upregulate and grow back, and suddenly the vibrant color will return to the real world. Reading will become interesting, your work will feel exciting, and you will realize you were never broken, you were just desensitized. Think of a muddy glass of water. If you keep violently shaking it, it remains dirty, but if you leave it completely undisturbed, the mud slowly settles at the bottom and the water becomes perfectly clear. You do not need to fix everything immediately. You need stillness, distance, and time away from the noise so your clarity can finally settle. To ensure you do not break, you must realize that your physical environment is a silent, constant enemy, often far stronger than your fleeting motivation. Look around your room right now. Do you see furniture and decorations? I see physical anchors to your past self. That chair is where you wasted 3 years scrolling instead of working, and your brain now biologically associates it with passivity. That messy pile of clothes is the physical manifestation of your chaotic, cluttered mind. You cannot expect to operate at elite, dangerous levels of focus in a space that was designed for leisure and consumption. Most people rely on willpower, fighting a losing war against their own environment every single minute, but willpower is just a battery that drains, while environment is gravity, and gravity always wins. In this 6-month protocol, we do not rely on willpower. We weaponize friction and turn your space into a sterilized fortress of solitude. Grab a heavy-duty black trash bag and walk through your space like an executioner, ruthlessly purging anything that does not directly serve your mission. Empty surfaces create a clear mind, so strip the room down until it looks like a stark, clean monastery cell. A prison cell is designed to contain a body, but your cell is designed to liberate a mind. Cover the mirrors, because ghost mode is about the complete dissolution of the ego. Mirrors remind you of who you are physically and make you self-conscious, but you are not here to look at yourself. You are here to look at your work. Once you close that door and sit in the silence, you have stepped into the dark room. Society loves to celebrate the shiny outcome, the athlete holding the trophy, or the entrepreneur ringing the opening bell, but greatness is not built in the blinding light. Greatness is built in the dark. Think about a beautiful, high-definition photograph. Where is it developed? It is developed in a dark room. And if you expose that film to the light too early, you completely ruin the picture and destroy the masterpiece before it ever has a chance to form. That is exactly what you have been doing to your life, exposing your fragile dreams to the harsh light of public opinion way too early. You seek validation for projects you haven't even finished, and you look for a pat on the back for a workout you haven't even completed yet. I dare you to stop talking. I dare you to stop announcing your moves to a world that is only watching to see if you stumble. The biological trap of talking is fatal. The moment you broadcast your goals and someone tells you it's a great idea, your brain releases a premature hit of dopamine, tricking you into feeling like you have already achieved something. You cash the check before you have earned the money, and your motivation to actually do the hard work drops dead. The world does not reward your intentions, it rewards your results. When you announce what you are going to do, you open a pressure valve and all the steam escapes. Keep your mouth closed, because a fish with its mouth closed never gets caught. Lock your goals deep inside, let the internal pressure build, and let that unbearable tension become the raw fuel that drives you through the finish line. Move in complete silence and let your results be the absolute only noise you make. You are withdrawing with surgical precision. No grand goodbyes, no warnings, no dramatic posts. Just gone. In your absence, scarcity becomes seductive and mystery becomes incredibly magnetic. People will wonder where you went, what you are building, and if you are okay, but you will not give them answers. Your silence will whisper louder than your presence ever could, creating an aura of power, because attention is not earned by being everywhere. It is earned by being missed. But let me warn you, the novelty of this new disciplined life will eventually fade. Motivation is a spectacular liar. It is like a hot shower that feels amazing for 10 minutes, but eventually you turn off the water and you get cold again. You cannot build a lasting legacy on a fleeting feeling that fluctuates with the weather or how much sleep you got last night. You will cross into month 2, then month 3, and the excitement of the new you will completely evaporate. You will hit the dreaded boredom barrier, the exact place where the amateurs quit and the pros turn pro. The initial burst of adrenaline will be gone. The imaginary applause you played in your head will go dead silent, and you will wake up on a random Tuesday feeling absolutely nothing. No passion, no drive, just the cold, hard reality of the repetitive grind in front of you. You will stare at the thick book you need to read, the heavy weight you need to lift, or the complex project you need to finish, and your screaming brain will ask, "What is the point?" You will feel a loneliness so deep and crushing it registers as physical pain, lying awake staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering if you have made a terrible, isolating mistake. This is the abyss. This is the danger zone, the exact moment where 99% of people pack up their bags, unlock the door, and run right back out into the warm, comfortable mediocrity they swore they were leaving behind. They run back to the club, the scrolling, and the noise because the noise drowns out their own terrifying doubts. They hit what we call the motivational rock bottom, unable to handle the emptiness of grinding without an immediate reward. But you must understand that this hollow feeling, this grinding without a prize, is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is the definitive biological proof that you are on the right one. The universe is testing you, administering the great filter to see if you are just a tourist in the land of greatness or if you are a true citizen. Everyone wants the breathtaking view from the summit, but nobody wants to endure the vertigo of the climb. You must decouple your actions from your emotions and become a cold, calculating machine of execution. When the alarm goes off at 4 a.m. in the pitch black, it is not a multiple choice question, it is an execution. You do not ask yourself if you feel like getting up because your feelings are fickle, tired, and want nothing more than to eat a donut while scrolling for 3 hours. The decision was made 6 months ago, and today is merely the mechanical administration of that decision. As you sit alone in the dark, your old self will fight violently for survival, whispering that change is a threat, isolation is dangerous, and just one quick peek at Instagram won't hurt. The saboteur is clawing its way back from the grave, demanding that you return to the safety of the herd. But if you give mediocrity an inch, it will absolutely take a mile. You must have a ruthless, zero-tolerance policy for the old you. You are in the crucible now, the tightest part of the chrysalis where the pressure builds and the fire burns the hottest. You are learning the most valuable, dangerous skill a human being can possess, the ability to execute without emotion. The modern world constantly tells you to follow your passion and listen to your feelings, but I am telling you to ignore your feelings completely. When the pain hits, when the muscles tear and the mind begs for a break, you do not say you are suffering, you say you are tempering. Steel is forged only when it is heated until it glows a blinding red and is struck relentlessly with a heavy hammer. The deep, aching loneliness is the fire, and your unyielding discipline is the hammer. You are bleeding out the demons of your past onto the pages of your journal. A war log where you objectify your fears so they completely lose their power over you. While you are locked in this dark room, you aren't just hiding, you are studying. You are reading human nature, watching how the world acts on fear, greed, and envy, preparing yourself so you are never manipulated by it again. You are building the physical body of a Roman soldier, lifting heavy iron to change your chemistry and build a resilience that teaches you pain is not a stop sign, but a growth signal. You are walking thousands of steps to untangle your mind, tapping into the same solitude that sparked the genius of Einstein and Tesla. You are leveraging the miracle of incrementalism, realizing that getting just 1% better every day doesn't look like much on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but compounds over 180 days to turn you into a force of nature. But the tension is mounting. The silence rings so loudly in your ears it feels like it might literally break your mind. The world outside is loud, flashing with cheap neon pleasures. Your friends are gathering at the bar, sending you texts asking where you are, telling you that you are acting weird, that you have changed, that you think you are better than them. They are crabs in a bucket, grabbing at your legs to pull you back down because your courageous escape highlights their own cowardly imprisonment. You are holding the line, forcing yourself to stay in the dark room while every primal biological instinct screams at you to seek comfort and connection. You are watering the bamboo tree deep underground, putting in the agonizing, repetitive work day after day while the surface remains completely unchanged. And those who doubted you are looking at your life and snickering, judging the harvest while you are still planting the seeds. You are standing on the absolute precipice, your hand hovering over the door handle, feeling the raw, terrifying weight of your own unfulfilled potential bearing down on your shoulders, wondering if you have the endurance to survive the silence. Wondering if you have the endurance to survive the silence. But if you hold your ground, if you refuse to turn the handle and run back out into the noisy, blinding lights, something miraculous begins to shift inside that dark room. The loneliness that felt like it was crushing your chest slowly dissolves, and in its place, you discover the profound richness of true solitude. You stop frantically searching outside for validation and realize that the silence wasn't empty at all. It was full of the exact answers that the noise had been drowning out. This is the crucible where you learn the deepest secret of human achievement. Success is neither magical nor mysterious, but simply the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. We live in a world that worships flashy talent and prays for overnight luck, but the quiet, undeniable superpower is consistency. Think about the grueling process of learning a new language. You don't wake up completely fluent in 6 weeks. You stumble over words, you make embarrassing mistakes, you forget phrases and have to relearn them. But slowly, the neural pathways in your brain wire themselves to hold on to the skill. Then one day, after months of steady, agonizing practice, you suddenly realize you are thinking in that language. That massive breakthrough wasn't the result of one extraordinary, hyper-motivated study session. It was the inevitable cumulative effect of small daily repetitions. But the danger is that inconsistency constantly tricks us into quitting too early. We try a new routine for a week, and when the results don't miraculously appear in the mirror, we assume the system is broken and immediately jump to the next shiny plan. Doing that is exactly like planting a seed and aggressively digging it up every 3 days just to check if the roots are growing. You wouldn't expect a beautiful tree to survive that kind of manic interference, yet that is exactly how you treat your own fragile ambitions. You have to trust the unseen work taking place beneath the surface. Consider the remarkable biology of the bamboo tree. For years, the seed sits buried deep in the dirt, aggressively establishing a massive, complex root system underground, while absolutely nothing seems to happen on the surface. People walk by looking at the barren soil and assume the seed is completely useless and dead. But then, in the 5th year, the bamboo suddenly explodes into the sky, growing several feet in a matter of mere weeks. Was that growth sudden? No, it was the explosive result of years of invisible, agonizing preparation. Your 6 months in ghost mode are your bamboo years. You are leveraging the absolute miracle of incrementalism, realizing that small changes, consistently applied, produce mathematically massive results over time. If you improve by just 1% every day for 6 months, you will be 180% better than the person who walked into that room. You won't just be slightly improved, you will be an entirely unrecognizable force of nature. But to achieve that mathematical certainty, you must ruthlessly eliminate the toxic concept of hustle culture from your brain. Modern society glorifies the mindless grind, people bragging about working 16-hour days, sleeping under their desks, and sending frantic emails at 2 a.m. as if exhaustion is a badge of honor. But busyness is not a virtue. It is often a symptom of lazy thinking and indiscriminate, desperate action. You can run on a treadmill for 10 years, sweating and exhausted, and never actually leave the room. You do not need to work 16 hours. You need to master the art of violent execution. Violent execution is not about how many hours you work, but the terrifying intensity of the hours you put in. It is the difference between a light bulb and a laser. A light bulb disperses its energy weakly in every direction, lighting up a room but holding no real power, while a laser concentrates all its energy into a single microscopic point that can slice straight through solid steel. You must become a laser. The average worker is a machine gunner, blindly spraying bullets everywhere, answering emails, attending pointless meetings, checking notifications, hoping to hit something by sheer volume, making endless noise but lacking any precision. In ghost mode, you are a sniper. You lie in the tall grass for hours, completely silent and invisible, calculating the wind, waiting patiently for the perfect shot, and when you finally pull the trigger, you do not miss. 1 shot, 1 kill. You accomplish this by establishing a 4-hour kill window of deep work. Your brain will fry if you attempt this cognitive strain for 12 hours, so you give 4 hours of pure, unadulterated, ferocious focus to the absolute hardest task immediately after waking up. In those 4 hours, you will produce more tangible value than the average office worker produces in an entire month. But what exactly are you aiming at? This is where you must avoid the fatal trap of the generalist. Most men dabble, learning a tiny bit of Photoshop, a little bit of writing, a fraction of sales, leaving them thoroughly mediocre at absolutely everything. The modern economy is brutal. It pays exactly $0 for average. For these 6 months, you are forbidden from exploring random passions. You must pick one single high-value skill and develop a monomaniacal, obsessive enthusiasm for it. Whether it is coding, video editing, or copywriting, you must practice until your fingers bleed, studying the deep nuances of the craft while your peers are wasting their lives watching Netflix. And once you reach the top percentile of that skill, you execute the secret weapon, skill stacking. You combine your mastery of writing with a deep knowledge of finance, and suddenly you are not just a writer, you are a financial copywriter, creating a lucrative monopoly of one. You stop getting paid for your time, and you start naming your price for the extreme difficulty of the problems you alone can solve. But do not delude yourself into thinking this is purely an intellectual game. There is a lie that intellectuals love to tell themselves. They wildly believe they can be a brilliant brain floating in a jar, sharp and effective, while their physical vessel rots away in a soft chair. That is a massive biological delusion. Your brain is housed in meat, fed by blood, and regulated by hormones. You absolutely cannot have a Tier 1 mind trapped inside a Tier 3 body. If your cardiovascular system is weak, your brain starves for oxygen, leaving you drowning in a permanent cognitive fog. If you carry excess weight and live a sedentary life, you are swimming in inflammation, chemically castrating your own drive and ambition. During ghost mode, you treat your body like a biological war machine. You are not training for vanity. You are not lifting iron to look good on a beach. You are training for absolute dominance. When you get under heavy iron and your legs shake violently and your mind screams at you to drop the weight, but you push through and demand one more rep, you are not just building muscle, you are building the callus of the mind. You are fundamentally hacking your own psychology, teaching your nervous system that the feeling of pain is not a stop sign and the feeling of fatigue is not a reason to surrender. You are forcing your DNA to adapt, producing the testosterone that drives risk-taking, confidence, and resilience. When a crisis hits your business, the average man crumbles because his threshold for stress is pathetic, having lived a life of soft beds and climate-controlled comfort. But you will smile at the chaos because you voluntarily expose yourself to the pain laboratory of the gym every single morning at 6 a.m. You train like a Roman soldier, fortifying your posture because human beings are primal creatures who assess your physical presence before you ever speak a word. If you look like a victim, the world will mercilessly treat you like one. But if you carry the carved, intimidating aura of a warrior who has endured pain, doors open and eyes shift in respect without you having to ask for it. As this metamorphosis accelerates, the friction with your old life will become excruciating. To succeed, you must be willing to commit social death. You must accept that for 180 days, you simply do not exist to the outside world. The guilt will try to claw at you on a Saturday night when your phone lights up with text asking why you are ignoring everyone and demanding you come out to the bar. This is the biological terror of FOMO, the primal panic that being excluded from the tribe means you will die. But you are not in the Stone Age, and that herd is not keeping you safe. They are keeping you small. Close your eyes and picture exactly what you are supposedly missing. It is the exact same loud, deafening music, the same overpriced drinks, the same shallow conversations about people you don't even care about, and the exact same hollow hangover waiting for them the next morning. You could disappear for 5 full years, walk back into that exact same bar, and nothing would have changed except that everyone would look a little older and a lot sadder. You are not missing out. You are escaping a sinking ship. You must aggressively flip the script and embrace JOMO, the dark, profound joy of missing out. There is an intoxicating satisfaction in knowing that while everyone else is wasting time and spending money, they don't have to impress people they don't like. You are sweating in the gym, coding in the dark, and laying the concrete foundations of an empire. They might be winning Friday night, but you are winning the damn decade. When you begin aggressively saying no, be prepared for intense hostility. Your friends will not smile and tell you to go chase your dreams. They will say you have changed, that you are acting arrogant, and that you think you are better than them. This is the crab bucket effect. If one crab tries to escape the bucket, the others will reach up, grab its legs, and violently pull it back down into the trap. They aren't doing this because they inherently hate you. They are sabotaging you because your courageous escape holds up a blinding mirror to their own cowardly imprisonment. If you succeed, it proves that they could have succeeded too, but were simply too lazy to do the hard work. You must let them fall away without an ounce of guilt. While you are isolated in the shadows, you are not just working. You are studying human nature like a Machiavellian general. You observe how kings lie, how men betray, and realize that humans do not act from noble virtue. They act from fear, greed, and envy. You sit down with a blank sheet of paper and you ruthlessly map your allies and your enemies. You categorize who is actually useful and brings leverage, who is a weak, indecisive sandbag that will only slow you down, and who is a smiling rival that would gladly burn your name for a little bit of power. Most people blindly trust everyone and walk straight into betrayals with their eyes wide open, but you are setting up your chessboard. You are building invisible wealth, skills that make you irreplaceable, income streams that pay you while you sleep, and absolute control over your time, so that when you finally strike, your power is entirely protected. Through all of this, you will come to a cold, liberating realization. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to wake up in the morning obsessing over your problems or fighting your battles for you. Your struggles are yours alone, and if you keep waiting for someone to push you, waiting for someone to believe in you, you will stay stuck forever. Most people waste years begging for permission and seeking approval from a world that is too busy fighting its own demons to care about theirs. You have to become your own biggest fan. You must develop a self-belief so unbreakable that even if every single person you love doubts you, you keep marching forward. Success is not handed out. It is violently earned. When someone tells you that your goal is impossible, you do not argue, you do not explain, and you do not try to convince them. You use their doubt as pure, unadulterated fuel. You let rejection sharpen you rather than break you. As you cross the halfway mark of your exile, something beautiful and terrifying happens. The struggle starts to vanish. The reading is no longer a chore. It is a ravenous hunger. The discipline no longer requires massive willpower because you have crossed the threshold of automaticity. You are no longer trying to be disciplined. You simply are disciplined. The habit has completely fused with your identity. You don't skip the deep work block because you are a professional, and professionals execute. You have built goal integrity, aligning your soul directly with your actions. Every single time you refused a distraction, closed the door on the noise, and kept the promise you made to yourself, you repaired the shattered respect you had for your own word. Now you look in the mirror and you can honestly say, I trust you. But listen to me very closely, because this is the exact moment you are in the most extreme danger. Right when the chrysalis is cracking open and the transformation feels secure, the devil of mediocrity will whisper the loudest. The voice of your dead self will try to claw its way out of the grave, softly telling you that you've done enough, that you've proven your point, and that one cheat day or one missed deadline won't hurt. That is a lie from the absolute pit of hell. If you give weakness an inch, it will steal a mile. If you slide back now, you do not just lose a day. You destroy the momentum of months and kill the bamboo right before it breaks through the soil. You cannot negotiate with weakness. You must maintain a ruthless, zero-tolerance policy for the old you. You must stay in the dark room a little longer. You are building up an unbearable reservoir of internal pressure by keeping your mouth shut. If you spill your guts and tell the world how great you are doing, the pressure valve opens, the steam escapes, and your drive dies. You must grind in utter silence, knowing that scarcity is incredibly seductive and mystery is absolutely magnetic. You are becoming a symbol, an unreadable force of nature, letting your absence scream louder than your presence ever could. The 6 months are coming to a close. The timeline is rapidly shrinking. You have sharpened the axe. You have built the ark before the rain started, and the concrete of your new identity has fully set. You are standing in the shadows of the dark room, your hand hovering over the doorknob, feeling the raw, undeniable power pulsing through your veins. Feeling the raw, undeniable power pulsing through your veins. You turn the heavy brass handle, the door creaks open, and the blinding light of the world floods into your sanctuary. You step out, and the first thing that hits you is the sheer, overwhelming noise. The world outside has not paused for your metamorphosis. It is exactly as loud, exactly as chaotic, and exactly as frantic as the day you left it. The notifications are still pinging from every pocket. The headlines are still screaming their manufactured panic. The masses are still arguing fiercely over trivial things that absolutely do not matter. And the treadmill of society is still spinning at a breakneck, exhausting speed. But as that chaotic wave of sound crashes into you, something miraculous, almost supernatural, happens. You do not flinch. You do not get swept away in the current. The noise hits you and shatters like fragile glass against a solid wall of iron because you are no longer porous. You are no longer a sponge desperately absorbing the anxiety and the frantic energy of the herd. You have spent 180 agonizing days cultivating a profound, unshakable silence, and you have brought that silence out of the dark room, embedding it deeply into the very marrow of your bones. You are walking directly through the chaos, but the chaos simply cannot enter you. You are the calm, calculating eye of the hurricane, moving with a deliberate, terrifying grace that forces the world to quietly part around you. You don't walk like the person who disappeared 6 months ago. That old person was frantic, anxious, constantly scanning the room for approval, walking with hunched shoulders under the crushing, invisible weight of unfulfilled potential. But you are walking with the carved, intimidating posture of a Roman conqueror who has just returned from a brutal, victorious campaign. You have faced the absolute darkest corners of your own mind. You have fought your deepest, most terrifying insecurities in the dead of night, and you have completely destroyed them. When you have conquered the demons inside yourself, the opinions of the outside world suddenly feel incredibly small, like the irrelevant buzzing of a mosquito that you can simply brush away without a second thought. Inevitably, you will cross paths with the ghosts of your old life. You will run into the friends who stopped texting you when you stopped buying the drinks, the co-workers who doubted your quiet ambition, the people who snickered behind your back when you systematically removed yourself from the mindless Friday night happy hours. They will look at you, and they will absolutely freeze. They will do a double take, their eyes wide, their brains struggling to process the cognitive dissonance of the unrecognizable force standing in front of them. You are standing there with clear eyes, a grounded spirit, and a physical presence that commands the very oxygen in the room. You aren't saying a single boastful word, yet your energy is utterly deafening. They will stammer. They will try to act casual. They will desperately try to pull you back into their familiar frame of reference, and they will inevitably ask the question, where have you been? What on earth have you been doing? This is the exact moment of ultimate absolute power. The old you, the weak, validation-starved you, would have spilled everything. The old you would have eagerly opened the floodgates, desperately explaining your strict diet, your complex reading list, your grueling workout routine, your new business plan, practically begging them for a pat on the back or a nod of approval. But the new you understands the dark Machiavellian power of the unspoken word. You just look at them. You hold their gaze with a calm, penetrating intensity that makes them shift uncomfortably on their feet, and you simply smile. You tell them you've just been working on a few things. You give them absolutely nothing to consume, no intricate details to criticize, no grand plans to tear down with their small-minded skepticism. You leave them drowning in an ocean of mystery, and as you walk away, the profound silence you leave behind will echo in their minds far louder than any arrogant speech ever could. The shock value of sudden, unexplained, undeniable success is the most magnetic, seductive force on the planet. They will whisper about you in the break rooms. They will wonder what secret knowledge you acquired, what hidden magical formula you discovered, completely blind to the brutal reality that there was no magic trick. There was only the agonizing, repetitive, lonely work that they were simply too cowardly to endure. You have finally learned the brutal, beautiful truth about human nature. The world does not respect your intentions. It only respects your results. When you announce your goals to the masses, you are unknowingly setting traps for yourself. You invite the world to project their own fears, their own laziness, and their own failures onto your fragile dreams. They will tell you to be realistic, which you now know is just a polite, socially acceptable way of telling you to stay average so you don't make them feel bad about themselves. But when you move in absolute, terrifying silence, when you execute your plans in the shadows and suddenly present the world with a finished, undeniable masterpiece, you bypass their skepticism entirely. You do not give them the luxury of doubting you, because by the time they even realize what you are doing, the war is already won and the monument is already built. You have presented them with a cold, hard fact. They cannot argue with the dense muscle you have built on your frame. They cannot argue with the profitable business you have launched from your bedroom. And they cannot argue with the profound, radiant peace that now emanates from your core. You have become a walking, breathing testament to the absolute miracle of incrementalism. They are staring at the sudden, violent explosion of the bamboo tree, marveling at how it shot 90 feet into the sky seemingly overnight, completely unaware of the years you spent watering the dirt, alone in the dark, building a root system so massive, so complex, and so deep that no storm on earth could ever tear you out of the ground. And make no mistake, the storms are going to come. Life is not going to suddenly transform into a permanently smooth, tranquil sea simply because you completed a 6-month protocol. The economy will inevitably crash, entire industries will shift overnight, people you trusted will betray you, and heartbreaking tragedies will strike without a single moment of warning. The world is a ruthless, unforgiving place that specializes in breaking the fragile and chewing up the unprepared. Before you entered ghost mode, a minor inconvenience would have ruined your entire week. A harsh email from a boss or a rejected proposal would have sent you spiraling into a deep depression, frantically reaching for the junk food, the alcohol, or the endless numbing scroll of the screen to anesthetize the pain of the impact. You were a fragile house built on shifting sand, ready to completely collapse at the very first sign of rain. But look at you now. Now you are an unshakable fortress built on solid, impenetrable bedrock. When the crisis hits, when the sky turns pitch black and the winds howl, the masses will panic. They will run around desperately looking for a savior, screaming that the sky is falling, completely paralyzed by their own lack of preparation and their addiction to comfort. But you will stand completely still. You will look at the storm and you will not feel an ounce of fear. You will feel a cold, calculating readiness. You spent 180 days voluntarily exposing yourself to extreme stress in the pain laboratory of the gym, getting under heavy iron, teaching your central nervous system to stay perfectly calm when the muscle fibers tear and the lungs burn for oxygen. You spent countless, lonely hours staring at the blank page, wrestling with complex, frustrating problems, pushing your cognitive limits until they snapped and reformed stronger. You didn't just survive those 6 months, you weaponized them. You built your ark long before the first drop of rain ever fell. You secured your own oxygen mask, developing the invisible, untouchable wealth of high-value skills, physical vitality, and absolute emotional regulation so that when the chaos erupts, you don't just survive the fallout, you lead. You become the immovable rock that others desperately cling to. Your stoic resilience becomes a blinding beacon in the darkness because the world desperately needs men and women who do not break, who do not fold, and who do not panic when the pressure mounts. As you navigate this elevated new existence, you will realize that the most profound change is not the external success, the growing bank account, or the striking physical transformation. The absolute most profound change is the complete, permanent death of your desperate need for external validation. You used to be a beggar in your own life, walking through the world with an empty cup, silently pleading with everyone you met to pour a little bit of approval, a little bit of attention, a little bit of love into your fragile ego. If they didn't like your post, if they didn't compliment your outfit, if they didn't validate your career choice, your cup remained empty, and you felt completely hollow and worthless. But sitting in that dark room, facing the excruciating, deafening silence of your own isolation, you learned the greatest, most liberating secret of human existence. You are the absolute only one who can fill your own cup. When you forced yourself out of bed at 4 a.m. in the freezing cold and did the agonizing work while the rest of the world was comfortably asleep, there was nobody there to applaud you. When you pushed through the pain barrier, sweating and trembling, reading the heavy philosophical texts, writing the complex code, building the concrete foundation of your empire, the world was completely, utterly silent. And in that terrifying silence, you learned to clap for yourself. You learned to generate your own approval from the inside out. Every single time you kept a difficult promise you made to yourself, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, you deposited a heavy gold coin into the bank of your own self-respect. After 6 months of relentless, unbroken deposits, you are immensely, untouchably wealthy. You have built an impenetrable reservoir of goal integrity. You no longer hope you are capable. You no longer wish you had discipline. You have the absolute, undeniable biological receipts proving that you are a relentless machine of execution. So when you step back into the light, you genuinely do not need the crowd's applause because you realize the crowd's applause is fickle, cheap, and based entirely on their own shifting, unreliable moods. You have tasted the deep, rich, intoxicating nectar of true self-reliance, and absolutely nothing the outside world can offer will ever taste as sweet. You are completely, terrifyingly free. This newfound freedom allows you to interact with the world from a place of supreme, unshakable abundance rather than desperate, clinging scarcity. You no longer have to force awkward conversations. You no longer have to laugh at jokes that aren't funny just to fit in. And you no longer have to shrink your massive potential to fit into rooms that are entirely too small for your ambition. You can finally love people for exactly who they are, rather than what they can do to stroke your ego. You can listen to their problems without absorbing their toxic negativity. You can care deeply for them without carrying heavy emotional burdens that simply do not belong to you. And you can walk away from toxic, draining environments without a single ounce of guilt or hesitation. You have developed personal boundaries made of thick, reinforced titanium, because you know exactly what it took to build this new version of yourself. The gallons of sweat, the silent tears, the agonizing, sleepless nights of doubt that you had to conquer entirely alone. You protect your peace with a ruthless, almost terrifying ferocity. Your time is no longer a cheap commodity to be traded for momentary comfort or polite obligation. It is the most expensive, highly guarded asset on the planet. You completely stop living in emergency mode, constantly running around reacting to the urgent but unimportant demands of everyone else's chaotic agendas. You learn the incredible dominant power of the pause. When a demand is placed on you, you do not instantly react like a trained dog. You breathe, you assess the board like a chess grandmaster, and you respond with cold, calculated precision. You are no longer a fragile leaf blown around by the unpredictable wind. You are the one directing the very current of the storm. But you must heed this final critical warning, for the journey absolutely does not end simply because the calendar hits day 181. The greatest, most fatal trap of success is the intoxicating illusion that the war is permanently over. The old you, that weak, comfort-seeking, excuse-making ghost that you buried in the dark room, is never truly dead. He is simply starving. He is waiting patiently in the deep, dark recesses of your subconscious, waiting for you to get comfortable. He is waiting for you to get arrogant. He is waiting for you to look at your new bank account, your new carved physique, your new thriving business, and think, I finally made it. I can take my foot off the gas. I can relax. The exact moment you let your guard down, the moment you skip the grueling morning routine because you feel you've earned a break, the moment you start scrolling aimlessly because you convince yourself one little peek won't hurt, that is the exact moment the ghost reaches out from the grave and violently grabs you by the ankle. Mediocrity is gravity, and it is constantly, relentlessly pulling at you, trying to drag you right back down into the bucket with the rest of the crabs. To maintain this elite, dangerous altitude, you must deeply understand that ghost mode was never just a temporary 6-month challenge or a trendy internet diet. It was a fundamental, permanent rewiring of your entire biological operating system. It was the violent, bloody birth of a permanent lifestyle. You don't ever go back to the way things were because the person who lived that way, literally, biologically, no longer exists. You have fully crossed the threshold of automaticity. Excellence is no longer something you have to force yourself to do using exhausting willpower. Excellence is simply who you are. The discipline is permanently baked into your DNA. You do not ask yourself if you feel like executing today any more than you ask yourself if you feel like breathing oxygen. It is entirely involuntary. It is the core, beating rhythm of your existence. You continue to seek the agonizing discomfort. You continue to lift the heavy iron. You continue to expose yourself to the terrifying unknown because you know with absolute certainty that the moment you stop growing, you start dying. There is no such thing as maintaining. There is no plateau. There is only aggressive ascent or slow, miserable decline. You must remain forever hungry, forever a humble student, forever sharpening the blade in the quiet, unseen moments before the battle begins. As you walk forward into this elevated new reality, you begin to cast a very long, very profound shadow over the world. You didn't just transform your own life. Without even trying, without ever speaking a word, you have become a dangerous, incredibly inspiring symbol to everyone around you. By outright refusing to settle for an average, unfulfilled, quiet life of desperation, you have held up a blinding, undeniable mirror to the world. For the cowards, for the people addicted to their own excuses, your light will be far too bright. They will squint, they will turn away in disgust, and they will try with all their might to pull you back down into their bucket of misery because your sheer courage violently highlights their apathy. But for the few, for the rare ones who have that exact same quiet, desperate ache in their chest that you once had, you will become a towering lighthouse in the dark. They will look at your life, at the quiet, unshakable strength you exude, at the undeniable, massive results you have produced, and they will realize that the prison door they thought was securely locked has actually been wide open the entire time. You will inspire them not by preaching from a stage, not by posting cheesy motivational quotes on social media, and not by arrogantly telling them what to do, but simply by being the living, breathing, undeniable proof that a human being can completely rewrite their destiny. Your silent, relentless grind will echo across generations, proving to everyone watching that greatness absolutely does not require a genetic lottery, immense inherited wealth, or perfect lucky timing. It requires absolutely nothing more than a single firm decision, followed by an unbreakable, borderline psychotic commitment to the daily, unglamorous execution of that decision. You will show them that the power to completely change the world does not start out there in the loud, chaotic noise. It starts right here, in the terrifying, beautiful, profound silence of the dark room. So here we are. The map is fully laid out before you. The intricate mechanics of the transformation, the brutal psychology of the dopamine detox, the absolute non-negotiable necessity of the isolation. You know every single piece of it now. Ignorance is no longer an excuse you can hide behind. You can never again look in the mirror, stare into your own eyes, and claim you don't know how to change your life. You hold the literal blueprint to absolute freedom in your trembling hands. But a blueprint is just a useless piece of paper until you actually start pouring the heavy concrete. The universe is watching you right now, holding its breath, waiting to see exactly what you will do in this definitive moment. Are you going to nod your head, feel a temporary, useless surge of cheap motivation, and then mindlessly click away to the next entertaining video? Are you going to let the adrenaline slowly fade away and slide right back into the warm, comfortable, pathetic coma of your daily routine? Are you going to spend another 5 years talking loudly about what you are going to build while standing entirely still in the smoking ruins of your own potential? Or are you going to draw a hard, unforgiving line in the concrete right now, today, in this very second? Are you going to stand up, look around your cluttered, chaotic room, grab that heavy black trash bag, and begin the purge? Are you going to look your lifelong excuses dead in the eye and finally, ruthlessly pronounce them dead? Listen to me very closely. There is no tomorrow. Tomorrow is a vicious, seductive lie invented by the weak to justify their cowardice and inaction today. There is only now. The next 180 days are going to pass whether you step courageously into the fire of the crucible or whether you stay rotting on the couch. 6 months from now, you will absolutely be in one of two places. You will either be looking back at this exact moment with tears of profound, overwhelming gratitude, knowing in your soul it was the very day you finally killed the coward inside you and violently took the wheel of your destiny. Or you will be sitting in the exact same spot, fighting the exact same demons, having the exact same arguments in your head, haunted by the crushing, unbearable weight of another half year completely wasted. The choice is yours, and yours alone. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to wake up early and do the push-ups for you. Nobody is going to read the heavy books for you. Nobody is going to build the massive empire for you. It is just you, the raw, unshaped material of your life, and the relentless, unforgiving ticking of the clock. The door to the dark room is wide open. The silence is calling your name, waiting for you to answer. It is time to stop talking. It is time to vanish It is time to disappear and show the world absolutely nothing until you are ready to shock them with everything. Now, turn off the screen, disconnect from the noise, step into the shadows, and begin.